And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is the 2023 Rugby Americas North, which basically represents all of North America, or RAN, as they like to be known, as the acronym, their Olympic qualifier preview for this year. It's happening this weekend. It's going to be an exciting event. It is focusing on Rugby 7. So again, for those of you new to the sport, there's definitely been a lot of different ways to play the traditional game of rugby. Usually you have 15 men per side, but there has been many different numbers and many different ways of playing. Rugby 7s, with 7 players a side, has been the most popular, probably followed by Rugby 10s. There has been 12s. I believe there's even been Rugby 5s as well. So, again, if you've never seen Rugby 7s, highly recommend it. It is super fun to watch. I always tell people Rugby 7s, it's kind of a more fast-paced, easier to digest, filled with action version of rugby. Like I mentioned before, 7 players per side, but the same size pitch, 100 meters long. So a lot more space, a lot less people, a lot more scoring, fast-paced action. Only 7-minute halves per half. So instead of your usual 2 40-minute halves, 80-minute total, it's only 14 minutes of a game with a 1-minute or 90-second halftime. It goes by like that. If you've ever been to a World Rugby Sevens event, it is the largest professional organization for Rugby Sevens around the world. It is a lot of fun. Luckily, being a LA local, they've been having the U.S. event based in LA at the Dignity Sports Health Park, in very close to where I live in LA. So it's been a lot of fun for the last couple of years. Even this last year, which was flooded by a thunderstorm, which is delayed action. It still was a lot of fun to go see. Also, what's really cool about the Rugby Sevens, the World Rugby Sevens events, it is an international event. So you see players from all over the world. New Zealand, South Africa, Japan, Fiji, Samoa, China, Hong Kong, Mexico even made an appearance at one event. It is a lot of fun. And fans from all over the world as well. But we're not talking about the World Rugby 7 Series. Instead, we are talking about the Olympic qualifier, because Rugby Sevens is an Olympic sport. It has been an Olympic sport since 2016 in Rio, when they had the first Rugby Sevens Olympic event. Both the 2016 and the 2020, technically 2021, Japan Olympics were run by Fiji, but USA has qualified for both events. Now we are getting ready for the 2024 Olympics in France next year. The qualification process for it, as I mentioned before, you had the World Rugby 7 Series. The top 4 teams, including France, who's hosting, automatically qualify for the Olympic event. Unfortunately, Team USA, though they had a pretty hot start, placing 3rd in a couple events, kind of fell apart near the end of the season and did not qualify during the World Rugby Sevens event. But now they will be trying to qualify in this weekend event qualifier taking place in British Columbia. They will be competing with all the other North American teams, including Canada, which will basically be probably their biggest rival to earn the spot for the Olympics. 7 teams are representing the men's side, and only 1 Olympic qualifying spot. Also, though, in this event, 1 team who has not qualified for the World Rugby Sevens event, which is kind of the tier 1 if you want to look at different tiers. Kind of a newer concept, I know, for American sports fans, but if you follow soccer or football around the world, you have your tier 1s, tier 2, and you have relegation and relegation between the two, as well as promotion. The top is the World 7 Series, where USA is right now. There is now a Challenger Series, which is basically the second tier, who are trying to earn their way into the top. Ireland has been able to get their way through it, Uruguay as well. So the teams that are not normally in the World 7 Series, which is pretty much all the other teams other than USA. Unfortunately, Canada just recently got relegated down, will be fighting for a spot in the Challenger Series event, which they could possibly win by being the top unranked team in this event. And I'll go over the teams that are in this event so you can kind of see who's in it. As I mentioned before, Canada kind of is the top one that will be facing against America. So, 2 pools divided between 7 teams. One pool will have 3 teams, which is what USA is in. It's Pool A, USA, Mexico, and Bermuda. And then Pool B is Canada, Jamaica, Barbados, and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Island, which is an island located in the Caribbean. So, on day 1, which is going to start Saturday, August 19th, USA will play both teams in its pool, Bermuda and Mexico. The Bermuda game kicks off 1:14 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Mexico team kicks off, the Mexico game kicks off at 3:58 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All these games can be watched absolutely live and on demand on the Rugby Network. Like I mentioned before, get in on the Rugby Network. It is going to be the place where you can watch almost all of USA Eagles action, which is great. A great access to not only diehard rugby fans, but new rugby fans, because it is absolutely free. So you can watch it again this Saturday. USA will play against Bermuda, 1:14 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then Mexico, 3:58 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If they end up in the top 2 spots, they then go into the playoffs, which will be placed on Sunday. Knockout rugby, the winner take all, will start at 11:25 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. As I mentioned before, it's probably going to come down to USA and Canada in the finals. Going over what they've just done this year in the World Rugby 7 Series, USA and Canada only played each other once, and USA was able to win that game back in Dubai. So that was way back, actually, last year in December. So it's been a while since the 2 teams have played. Definitely, again, a lot on the line. Only 1 spot for the Olympic qualifier. And then, obviously, Canada trying to make it into the Challenger Series as well. USA definitely wanting to get into the French Olympics. If USA does not win the tournament, from what I understand, the 2nd and 3rd place team do get to go into the final repechage tournament, which will take place later this year, with a chance to make that last spot into the Olympics. Hopefully USA makes it in. Now, let's go over the starting lineup of this team. It is a young, very, very hard-hitting, not as experienced as prior teams, but they've started to build some experience. Hopefully, again, biggest competition is just going to be Canada. I'm not expecting USA to be on the losing side in this tournament. Again, their biggest challenge may be in the very end or maybe in the semifinals against Canada. But let's look at the team popping up right here. First of all, let's start with Aaron Cummings. He is a former American Raptors, which again, with the Raptors, it's the crossover team where basically you take players from other walks, other sports, giving them a chance to get into rugby and trying to teach them that they have the tools to become good rugby players. Quite a few players on this team are from the Raptors program, and a lot of them have really, really taken a liking to rugby and been really good. Aaron Cummings is one of them. Joe Schrader, a talented, hard-hitting, I believe he was a collegiate wrestler player on this rugby team. And then, of course, you have your captain, Kevon Williams, dynamic, great inspirational leader. He's been the leader of this team for at least the last 5 years. He will lead the troops onto the field again for Team USA. Naima Fualau, great talented player as well. Malachi Esdale, he is again another one of those Raptors crossover players. Really, really talented. He's quick, he's fast. He's really been able to pick up the game of rugby. Stephen Thomason, usually is going to be your kicker on the team. Really, really great. Has the nickname Scuba Steve. It's an inside joke with all of them. Faitala Talapusi. And then, of course, Perry Baker. He is the standout, phenomenal player. If you have to know anybody on this team, Perry Baker is the man. One of the fastest players, not only on the USA Eagles team, but in the entire Rugby 7's world community. He has 263 tries, the most tries by a player currently playing in Rugby Sevens. Number 3 on the all-time overall list, just behind Kenyan MVP Collins Injera, who has 279, just recently retired. And then, of course, the all-time record by British superstar Dan Norton, 358. Baker has been around for almost a decade now, former football player, turned into rugby superstar. He's 95 tries behind Dan Norton. It's not impossible for him to possibly break that record. He does have an average of 32 tries a season, so it's possible he could end up being the number 1 overall try scorer in the history of World Rugby Sevens, but definitely can possibly break Collins Injera. He's only 16 behind his record of 279. Could possibly do it this next season of Rugby 7. Moving on, we have Lucas LeCamp, a former UCLA Bruin. Very, very talented superstar. Has come back from injury, is really, really fast, elusive, a great player. Marcus Tupuola, also very, very talented. Adam Channel. This is a guy that is I'm a big fan of because he's a former LA Guillotines, came up in the LA Guillotines Academy. Phenomenal person on and off the pitch. Also has come back from an injury. Great to see him getting suited up for this team. Lance Williams makes his return to the Rugby Sevens pitch after earlier getting his debut start in the Rugby Sevens community for the Eagles. Of course, Lance Williams, you know him as a Utah Warriors from Major League Rugby, trying to dabble into the Sevens field. And then the return of Ben Pinkelman, has been a team captain for USA over his career, was out with a back injury in 2021, first time coming back onto the pitch. He also is the high performance director for the USA Eagles program for the under-20s program. He's been kind of masterminding building the under-20s program for the USA Eagles. He personally selected a lot of the players for this upcoming crop of under-23 players that are going to be going over to Rugby Town Sevens, which of course I'll be doing a video on that. So Ben Pinkelman, great to see an experienced vet like himself back healthy onto the pitch. And that is your USA Eagles team. Again, I'm not expecting, this to be a tough slate for USA. Again, going against Bermuda, going against Mexico. Both teams not necessarily really experienced in the rugby community, in the rugby scene, especially in sevens. So hopefully, USA should make the semifinals. And then, like I said, it's probably going to come down to USA and Canada. Winner takes the Olympic qualifier. Of course, there's a lot then on the line because it is us against our rivals in the north. Canada would love to upset USA to not only make the Olympic qualifications, but also earn themselves their spot in the Challenger Series as well. So, that, of course, is our video. Real quick, real sweet, real simple. Again, if you've never seen Rugby Sevens, if you want to get into rugby, I highly recommend, in order to learn the rules of rugby, I feel Rugby Sevens is a much easier way to kind of see how things develop because there's less people on the field. So penalties, plays, the way that the game works. I learned rugby a lot more from watching sevens than watching 15s. 15s can be very intimidated. Sevens is a lot easier. Again, just 7-minute halves, 14-minute games. It's easy. You can sit and watch that in one sitting. It's a lot easier to digest, and again, a lot of scoring. It is amazing. I highly recommend. Get a chance to watch. This will be, again, free, on demand on the Rugby Network. Download it, watch it. It's this weekend, again, Saturday, August 19th. First game for USA against Bermuda, 1:14 p.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff. Mexico, 3:58 p.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff. And then, if all goes well, they will be in the semifinals on Sunday and possibly qualifying for a spot in the French Olympics in 2024. In the Olympics in France in 2024. So, good luck, Team USA. And again, hope you guys watch the games and support Team USA. As always, thank you very much for watching my video. Appreciate the support, and I'll see you on the pitch.